Happy Saturday morning, and it is time for Cynthia Hash to join us for the reality of real estate. First, Cynthia, how did it go on Saturday last week with the Spark Run Walk?
Oh, thank you for asking. It went very well. There was over 300 people there.
That's great.
Yes, raised a good bit of money for this cause of prevention of suicide. And we are very um, grateful for everybody that came. What was so sweet of the gang is all the they gave us the ones who've been participating all of the 10 years that Spark has been around.
Hmm.
They gave us a plaque that was really nice, and so the Mitchell Hash Foundation and Find Homes Realty got a plaque
Oh,
saying,
that's nice.
10 years of sponsorship and dedication and etc.
Well, that's
So it
very
really
good.
was kind of nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that was so nice. And we also had, we always have, it's, God just blesses us most of the time with wonderful weather, at the time because you got enough. Last year was a little bit wet, but it didn't rain while we were walking. It was just it had
Hmm.
been wet. It was, the night before. So other than that, this was beautiful weather. It was
Yes, it
absolutely.
was. Yes, it was. Well, I'm glad
Mhm.
you raised a lot of money and hopefully save a lot of lives
I hope
with
so.
that. And again, it's Spark. What was the website for Spark
A
was
Spark Walk,
Spark of
sparkofhope.org.
Hope.
And then, yeah, and it's also very, it's also part of Region 10 too.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
connected
just,
with them.
yeah.
Well, that's
So,
excellent resource.
yeah,
So, what are we
exactly.
talking about in the world of real estate this morning?
So, this one is about housing costs and how they're too high. And
Mm.
I'm basically we'll go over kind of what factors do you blame? You know, uh,
You mean that metaphorically? You don't want to get me started on that.
exactly. Oh, but I'm gonna start a little. Got a couple of emails last week's show. Basically, it was talking about our last topic, and I just want to clarify: there are 3 million active real estate licensees in the United States.
Wow.
The National Association of Realtors reports about 1.5 million realtors as of May 2024. So that's about half of the agents in the country that are not realtors.
That
Therefore,
many, that high of a percentage?
yeah, therefore, they are not obligated to follow the code of ethics.
That's wild.
Yep. So, and at least half of the realtors in the country, then you have half the realtors in the country don't have the extra educational certifications, the
Hmm.
designations, all the letters behind the name, that set them apart, which leaves about 3/4 of a million agents being the most experienced and the most well-educated agents in the country.
So, is there an easy way to tell? Is there a tattoo or something? I mean, I remember there used to be one of the big like national firms had gold jackets on all their people, but I don't
Yeah,
know
they did. Yeah.
outside of like a gang jacket or a secret handshake. How does somebody know if they're just flipping through the online listings who's a realtor and who isn't?
Well, if you go to realtor.com, what happens is you can actually take a look and say search for agents. And when you're searching for agents, you can search for the designation that they have little logos behind their names for designations and certifications and things like
Oh,
that.
okay.
And so I would do that. That's actually when somebody says, "Hey, Cynthia, I appreciate working with you in this area, but I'm moving to Timbuktu, whoever, whatever state in the country, whatever.
Hmm.
And can you find me a realtor that knows as much as you do about real estate? I'd love to work with somebody else on that end of things when I move." And yes, of course, I tell them, of course. And
Hmm.
so that's what I do. I go onto realtor.com and I take a look at what the designations are and, how much of their sales there are and what how many sales and what the numbers numbers of sales they've had, and also their price range that they have, and so you figure on the exact total of agents and so forth. That's going to fluctuate anyway, but
Okay.
that's how you find out, and it's going to fluctuate with the housing market because as there fewer agents remain during economic downturns. We lost hundreds of thousands of agents because of COVID, ever since
Hmm.
COVID. So an agent like myself, quite frankly, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but my experience, my certifications, my designations, actually, that if I were to narrow all those down and figure out how many have those things, as well as the number of sales and so forth, it doesn't mean I do have to share that what and earn certain designations like CRS and whatever. It can actually say that I'm in the top 1% of the agents in the country.
Oh, that's great.
And that's combining all that information, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't mean I'm a millionaire though, right?
Right, but you know all the things that you need to help somebody, navigate the marketplace. Especially, I've got to think it's at least half of the people coming to a realtor. It's their first time, or maybe the only time, that they are going to do that.
That's right. And so you never know. So this makes it even more uh, important to get a professional, know how to interview them, know how to find the right things, know that you're working with somebody that's experienced, know that you're working with somebody that's full time. Because,
Hmm.
quite frankly, more than half of the realtors out there or agents out there are part time. And
Yeah,
so
you
that's
said
kind of
that.
what we were talking about in the last session, of at the last show. And
Hmm.
so you want to get somebody that's not that part-time person that really doesn't know what they're doing, or at least that you're working with somebody that works on a team that has a person who is, more experienced, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
The general public really needs our guidance because in this poll, for example, that they're doing, that they were doing, Realtor.com was doing for the housing costs are being too high and what factors are to blame. This is what the Americans say, and these polls they don't really truly understand, obviously, what's really going on in the housing market right now. And so you think of this: there's about 93% of Americans say that housing costs are too high. And okay, I'm one of
Hmm.
them. And these are what they say are the reasons. And the reasons fluctuate quite a bit. But we're talking about people that are, uh, you know, there's only 3% of people that are saying that housing prices are reasonable right now,
Only
according to,
3%.
yeah.
A little bit of me said, "Hold it. What are they looking at?" But okay, but that seems even low for what I hear on the radio.
Mhm. Yeah. So, but this was a tavern research that was conducted, this survey. Okay, and so they did it for the Searchlight Institute, and there was a total of 93% of the people that were surveyed saying that housing costs were unreasonable. 43% of them say they were way too high,
Mm.
like way too high. And so the honestly, I'm not surprised, uh, because housing affordability, you know, it leaves a lot to be desired right now. And it's at a 4-decade low relative.
And some of that though has to do with the income in the area, the workplace,
Right.
the work market in the area, and unfortunately, one of the things I've seen, and I want to see if you've seen the same thing in the data. It seems like towns like this, whether it's Harrisonburg or Charlottesville, that are dominated by college, can
Yes.
often be the worst offenders to that.
Sometimes because the 4-decade low thing is relative to income.
Hmm.
And half of the and here's the thing, even renter households are considered and classified as being cost burdened. What do I mean by that? Renters are at this point spending 30% of their income on rent.
My goodness.
And that is,
That's on
you know,
average.
yeah. And so this is, US Census Bureau stuff.
Hmm.
And but but here's the thing, renters, if you're spending that much money on rent, please consider buying, because guess what? The homeowners spend about 21, little over 21% of their income on the housing in regards to having a mortgage.
Oh,
And
wow. So,
yes,
so it's actually more cost efficient to own than it is to rent?
most
That's
definitely.
crazy.
Yeah, most definitely. And let's say they have no mortgage. Let's say you've been in the house for 30 years, you paid it off. And those people only pay about 11.5% of their income having no mortgage.
Wow.
Well, and let me just say this, if you are an adult,
Hmm.
you will be paying a mortgage for the rest of your life. It's either going to be a mortgage for that you're paying that happens to belong to your landlord,
Hmm.
or it's going to be your own mortgage, and that's the only way you're going to get equity.
Right. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. You're paying somebody's mortgage. It might as well be yours.
It might as well be yours. That's exactly right. And so these housing costs can really be difficult.
Hmm.
And for people that are especially just first-time home buyers, the millennials, the Gen Zers, stuff like that, they're it's very difficult for folks.
Well,
But most,
especially when you start to look at student loan debt, where a
yes.
25 or 30-year-old is still trying to pay that off, and
Mhm.
then they're looking for housing costs as well. And I know that that's been a heavy burden.
Oh, absolutely. And housing costs, but I blame the fact that, we had this COVID boom that was just out of nowhere, and it created a chronic shortage of housing as the main culprit. That's my opinion.
Hmm.
And the reason is because, I experienced it. We had people that were pulling out their houses off the market left and right once COVID hit. And we're in the wake, is what I call it. We're in the wake of that wave that
Okay.
happened with COVID,
Hmm.
and you get the economic research that goes on. You've got the country near the country actually needs about $4 million additional homes to meet the needs of the population right now. So we
Okay.
still have more demand than we have supply. So it's still a little bit of a seller's market. It's not as strong as it was a year or two ago, but that's because we've reached the top,
Hmm.
and we've passed the top. It's time to have a correction, and yeah, it really is. But what they found out was that Americans basically have a very wide range of opinions on what's causing the housing crisis. The top response is blaming, and this is where they don't know, I don't think this is true as much, but their top response is blaming investors for snapping up homes for a profit. And when I see that, about 48% of them said that. When I see that, I don't think that's really accurate, but that's the layperson's, opinion,
Hmm.
and it would have to be, in my opinion, it depends on where the people that were surveyed live. So if you're living in the higher densely populated areas of the country, then that could very well be true in that particular area. Uh,
Hmm.
and also, they had answers that were blaming the high cost of maybe building materials. Totally agree. You got the all the taxes, all the incredible. I mean, I can remember a building that we were going to be building that was going to cost us $800,000 on a piece of property. Uh, as soon as COVID hit, it was going to cost us 1.8 million.
Yeah, that's right. All the lumber and all that went up in cost.
Mhm.
You're right. Yeah.
That's right. So then you have other people that are saying that, oh, it's greedy landlords. They're setting the rent too high. About 43% of them said that. And then you have elected officials that are not prioritizing affordable housing policies. That's about a third of the ones that were surveyed.
Hmm.
So I'd love for everybody, by the way, to go and check out findhomesrealty.com/podcast and kind of look at all the listen to all of what we've talked about. And I think we've really covered a gamut of subjects, and I hope you've felt it has been valuable. And I also hope that you take a look at our roster and choose one of our agents to uh, help you buy and sell your home. We're very trained and very willing to help and very caring.
Hmm.
I'm gonna kind of share with you what those what the other root causes of the higher prices, what some of that it can end up being. There, those were the top three, but
Hmm.
also they're saying that, or top four actually. They're also saying that there's too many immigrants that are moving into the United States. So that was about
Interesting.
17%. Yeah, and then there's about 12% said that workers are, the workers hired to build homes are too expensive. So, like the
Oh,
subcontractors.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, I've read things that the cost of a house can be $20,000 before you even put a shovel into the ground.
Yeah, just the
So,
permits and
yeah.
the surveys and everything.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. And people are about 11% said that people are converting their homes into Airbnbs instead of renting them out to people at an affordable price per year, let's say.
Mm.
And that's about and quite frankly, I've seen that happen multiple times. I think the Airbnbs might be, I don't know if they're leveling out right now or not, but they probably should be because it's creating a shortage of people being able to rent like detached single family homes so that they can have a dog or something in a
We
yard,
saw, I mean, a little bit of that COVID frenzy
Hmm.
was people with money that was sort of given to them,
Yeah,
or they were incentivized to move out of the cities. And we saw it here in Central Virginia, and they were coming down, and in the
yeah,
old days, Cynthia, somebody would say, "Oh, well, you have money left over. Let's do an investment property," and that
yeah,
would be a rental, a long-term rental. Now
exactly.
they're talking about doing these Airbnbs and these VRBOs um, as that investment property. I mean, I did see it with a lot of
Yeah.
the houses we were looking for.
That's right. That's right. And and the thing is that they're also thinking that that about 9% of them said that one of the biggest things is that it takes too much time to build housing, and is that a key factor? Yeah, they're thinking
Hmm.
but it's only about 9%. But they're frustrated. The home builders are frustrated with red tape and all the permitting processes
Hmm.
and all it's not just the permitting processes, but it's also things like, you know, uh, oh no, you've got to put a turning lane in here that's going to cost you $150,000.
Right.
Or all these things. And I realize that there's a reason for it. But I think blaming investors, because that's one of the top ones, it is actually misguided. And there's some economists that actually believe that when it comes to that, blaming investors, it's like maybe a partisan divide of maybe about 52% Democrats. They think, you know, listing investors is to blame, and as a top three culprit, and Republicans think it's about 43%. So it's a little bit, it's close, but it's still a divide.
Yeah.
And but you're right. You mentioned about college it's not just the college educated respondents say about 52% are named investors. But I will tell you, a lot of those people are investors. So, so there, without a college degree, it's only about 45%. But what's happening a lot is, you see these with the military, they move throughout the states or whatever what they're doing, and they keep that house and, move to the next one
Sure.
and et cetera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Mhm.
not even on their choice.
Mm-mm.
Cynthia Hash with us from Find Homes Realty, talking about what's driving the cost. Does the National Association of Realtors have a toolkit on this? Are they looking? I know that they work a lot with our legislative leaders. Are they looking
They
at
do.
legislative fixes for it? Are they working with better ways to make the costs more handleable?
So, well, yes and no,
Mhm.
because the National Association of Realtors and the National Association of Home Builders. Robert Diaz, he's the chief economist at the National Association of Home Builders. They said it's been popular to blame investors, but with housing, the economics of that don't make a lot of sense. The
Mm,
fundamental driver of housing costs is the shortage itself. And
sure.
that's always been my opinion. It's been driven by the fact that there's a mismatch between the number of households and the actual size of the housing stock available. So investors, quite frankly, in truth, play a smaller role in the market unless you're BlackRock and you're buying up entire streets
Well,
of
yeah.
of cities. That's different. It maybe some of these people were polled by were the ones that were polled, and so that maybe that's why.
Hmm.
But but the proof is in the pudding. Among the homes that were sold last year, just 13% were purchased by an investor.
I
And
was
this was,
thinking it was going to be low.
yeah, yeah. And this was a recent analysis from Realtor.com economic research team. And then on the other side of the transaction is about 11% of sellers were investors last year. Okay.
Hmm.
So the majority of investor purchases, they were small mom and pop investors with 10 or fewer homes. Whereas the large investors with more than 50 properties, guess what? They purchased only about 132,500 homes.
Well, that doesn't sound like a lot at all.
No, it really isn't. So this represents a tiny fraction of the roughly 4.7 million total home sales last year.
Hmm.
So you really got to know the statistics, and going on NAR and looking at the statistics, looking at, those kinds of things. This is this is huge because, quite frankly, um, the Wall Street firms that are snapping up these huge uh, numbers of single family market. Yeah, there are some of that. There is some of that going on, but investors have a more, maybe more concentrated role in certain markets and
Okay.
certain neighborhoods. Yeah. So it could be those isolated areas,
Hmm.
but they're investors. They serve a purpose because sometimes investors are buying up properties that are really dogs. They're not good properties, and nobody wants to rent them and nobody wants to buy them, and an investor might buy it up and improve it and make it better. Are they going to want to make money on it? Of course, they're going to need a return on their investment.
Right.
Absolutely. But they're likely to to improve it so that they can either resell it or turn around and rent it. So there's sometimes investors are sometimes actually creating housing in
Hmm.
that regard.
Well,
Okay.
and that's what you want them to do,
Hmm.
because this is a house that might have just laid,
Hmm.
empty and derelict, and that's even
That's
worse
right.
for a neighborhood.
That's exactly right. I think it is. And quite frankly, here's the thing. Investors usually don't engage in these totally irrational bidding wars that have gone on for the past 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
What they're like, they don't have the emotion involved like the typical consumer would in buying a home. So they do own significant shares of housing stocks in neighborhoods again, but frankly, investor-owned housing is not a major concern here. And
Okay.
that's the truth, even though it was one of the top things that people would think is to blame, and it's not. But you got so quite frankly, um, we do need more home construction.
Hmm.
This is uh, this is what we need. I think we need a correction in the market because everybody who bought a house in 2020 or since then has overpaid pretty much for their house.
Yeah, that's gonna
Um,
hurt.
and it's going to hurt them in the long run, unless, well, in the short run, I should say, unless they are going to keep it for probably the next 15 years and not try to sell it for,
Hmm.
until they've paid down their mortgage quite a bit. Until you hit the 15-year mark, you're still paying mostly interest on in your mortgage payment. It's mostly
Okay.
interest. So, you know, you basically it's a the it's this survey found that 54% of Americans said that they believed building more housing in their community would actually be a good thing.
That's good. Then we need
Mhm.
them to show up at planning commission meetings.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. And when you have a higher quality housing in a neighborhood, I don't care whether it's for rent or for sale, that means people are living in basically a higher quality of life.
Hmm.
And so that's going to raise, this is what Diaz said, that's going to raise the value of living in that neighborhood and
Hmm.
making that neighborhood your home. Now, here's the thing. If you're those neighborhoods, you still it's no matter what you're looking at, if you take a ruler and you take from the beginning of the time that we started uh, watching economics and housing and how they affect one another
Hmm.
uh, overall, you take a ruler and you can see huge ups and huge downs on periodically, okay?
Okay.
And but if that ruler will prove and to show that the average increase in values and the healthy average increase in values is 3 to 4% a year,
Okay.
not 20%.
Yeah, but oh yeah, we got drunk on that pretty quickly.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so I think that what we're experiencing right now, this too shall pass. Okay. This too shall pass.
Hmm.
But you figure the renters, renters, please think about buying. Please think about buying. Watch your credit scores. Make sure that you're planning and spending wisely, and get into a purchase, because if you purchase, you're gonna and that is the American dream. That is where you can earn the most.
Right.
Basically the American dream, as in, where else are you going to be able to get properties, and it continues to grow in equity. So,
Right.
but still, don't make sure you're not paying, too much, and make sure that you're looking at and using a realtor is going to be able to help you, and make sure that you're using a lender that's not going to encourage you to overspend.
Yeah.
And I think what you'll see is and be very careful about how you pay down your mortgage. So that would be a great way of handling things.
Yeah, you've got to
You
be very careful and diligent about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Pay if you can, pay more principal because the mortgage is way front end loaded
Hmm.
with interest.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
So what you do is you take a 30-year mortgage, amortize it over what's comfortable for you, and make sure that if your mortgage payment is $1,500, if you can afford another $100 a month or $200 a month or anything per month or per quarter or per year, you add that to it, and you'll knock years off of your 30-year mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as you could, because the principal is what's driving the interest
Hmm.
and so on and
Yeah.
so forth. But
Yeah.
good stuff, Cynthia. Very well said. Yeah, and it's scary. I mean, and nowadays we're seeing renters have to have good credit scores too. So I mean,
That's
it's not
right.
even you've got to worry about that anyway. So you might as well use it to your advantage.
You might as well, honest to Pete. So, and so go again to findhomesrealty.com/podcast, listen to our shows, but also take a look on our website.
Hmm.
Doesn't cost you anything. Just take a look, find out who we are, how we can help you. Okay.
Well, you have a great Saturday, Cynthia. Congratulations on the award, and we'll talk to you again next Saturday.
Thank you so much.